A lovely good afternoon and welcome to the People's Verdict. I'm Patrick Soko, and today we are looking at a topic that we have themed overcoming development obstacles. And to help me discuss this topic, we have in the studio Agent for Positive Change, who is Mukelebai Likezo. Welcome to the program, sir.
No, thank you, Mr. Soko. It is my pleasure to be here.
We are happy that you honored our invitation.
No, we have to be here at any given moment. We are hot to trot.
Interesting. Well, our dear viewers, later on the program, you may be given an opportunity to ask questions to our guests in case you have some. And you can equally follow this broadcast on our Facebook page, which is Camnet TV Zambia, as well as our YouTube channel, where we are streaming this program live. And we are looking at overcoming development obstacles. That's quite a mammoth topic, but we understand some of the key priorities that Zambia is looking at in order to overcome some of its challenges to be able to develop as a country. Now, moving on the program, we are going to start this conversation first of all by just giving you a general perspective pertaining to how you think the year 2023 was, and getting into 2023, what should be our areas of focus as we talk about development.
Of course, what I can indicate concerning 2023 was that we are a Zambia, a country like another country, particularly we are in African continent. Now, what happens is that we live like another contemporary individual elsewhere. And what defines what Zambia does and what you, in terms of your development, is about how you use your time, how you strategize, because you find that you'll be backwards, other people are advancing. So from my perspective, the way I see it, I think we are slow. As Zambians, we are sluggish. I don't know why we are having this lethargic aspect, because we need to advance, we don't have time. And I'm hoping and trusting that maybe coming into 2024, I believe and trust that Zambians will realize that we have so many problems and we do not have solution to most of the problems that we have.
Well, the country is currently confronted with the cholera pandemic. That is equally a development issue, because as a country we are finding ourselves having to attend to cholera when we thought we had dealt with this matter. And resources that would have initially probably gone towards other sectors now being channeled towards cholera response. And in this time and era, we are still complaining and struggling to combat cholera. What do you think of this issue, and overall, how should we approach the fight against cholera?
Of course, I'll start by indicating that cholera is a disease that is associated with people that are dirty, people that can be classified poor. These are fact or notorious fact that we cannot ignore. Because cholera, the Vibrio cholerae, which is the causative agent, is a microorganism that is not difficult to douse, or it's not difficult to control. From my standing point, where I'm coming from, cholera is a preventable disease. Cholera can be treated. Now, looking at the way it is happening in the Zambian situation is very unfortunate, because if I give you a bit of a background, because we are talking about the health sector here, because we want to measure and see whether we have a working health sector. Because in the health sector, actually, they are mandated to provide what we call health services to the Zambian people. And these health services, you can categorize them into two. There's what we call preventive medicine or preventive health services, as well as curative health services. Reactive, which is a curative, and proactive, which is the preventive section. Now, looking at what is obtained in Zambia, they have killed the component of preventive section. These are ramifications that we are going through right now. The suffering that we are having. We are out.
would like to apologize for that breaking transmission that was due to a technical challenge that we had here. However, we're going to take a short break and we'll be back shortly. Thank you for staying with us. We apologize for that breaking transmission. We had a terrible feedback that we needed to address. And however, we have to continue with the program. Just a reminder to those of you just joining the program, we are discussing overcoming development obstacles. And in studio, I've been joined by Agent for Positive Change, who is Mukelebai Likezo. And we were just getting warmed up when we had that technical glitch. But however, we have to proceed with the program. Now, moving forward, Mr. Likezo, I want to get your perspective. You were explaining something pertaining to chorea, and you were on that point where you were explaining the various facets towards the health sector in terms of prevention aspect as well as the aspect of curative. Yes. Now, you can proceed from there.
Yes, so health sector is a very special discipline, but mostly African continent, African individuals, they don't really understand. Now, I was talking about the aspect of cholera in relation to, because that is what we are having right now. So I was saying that the health sector is mandated to provide quality health services to the Zambian people. Now, these health services, they are in twofold. We have preventive health services and curative health services. They are intertwined. But what is obtaining in Zambia right now, we have concentrated on curative health services, and we have destroyed, we have estranged the preventive section of the health sector. Now, these problems that we are having, like for example, cholera epidemic that we are having right now, is a consequence or a ramification of failing to understand how health sector should be, operationalized. So there's no way, because what is going on, we are losing a lot of people because of failing to manage the proactive section of the health sector. I'll tell you that cholera itself, when you look at it, because it's endemic, in most of African continent as well as you go to Asia, is endemic, and the manner in which it inflicts individuals, there are certain fundamentals that you need to understand, and these people who can bring the reality and the facts are from the preventive section of it, because that's why you see people are failing to articulate issues. They are failing to explain exactly what people should be doing. Now we'll try to do that so that probably individuals will be able to know that preventive health services is number one, is important. Of course, we are not saying curative is not important, but you need to strike a balance. Other people have told you even elsewhere, say prevention is better than cure. Right now, when you see a sick patient of a cholera, you need a medical doctor there, you need a nurse, you need a biomedical scientist, you need a pharmacist, you need the epidemiologist. A number of healthy personnel are needed on one patient. But if you could nip the public health threat in the bud from where it is coming from, these ramifications would have been avoided. Let me indicate to you that cholera itself is a bit interesting the way it happens, but we need to understand, and for information, actually worldwide we have had 7 pandemic. Globally we have had 7 cholera pandemic. That is starting from 1817 all the way up to the point where we are talking about today, because the 6th pandemic happened from between 1817 to 1923. We are into the 7th one, which is started in 1964 from the Asians. It came through Indonesia, through Asia, it came into Africa, it came now to Europe, all the way up to Latin America. So that is when in Africa it came somewhere close to 1970s. That's when we had these problems of cholera. Are you aware that actually the developed country like our colonial masters, British, it was between 1849 to 1854, they were able to deal with this problem that we are having today. In 1854, they had dealt with this problem. But now today, this is not the first time that we are having this problem. The issue, it is ongoing. We are not saying we are failing to combat, we are failing to react so that we can reduce this, the morbidity and the mortality. It is because we are failing to do the right thing, and now the nature is giving us a lesson. Because the nature, you never manipulate. When you are not prepared, you are not doing the right thing. Definitely the nature will give you exactly what you are supposed to be given. Right now, Zambia is bogged down in this problem simply because we are failing to do what is right. Now, for example, let me indicate to you that cholera. Do you know that 75% of the people that are infected with cholera, they are asymptomatic. They don't show signs. About 20% of the people that are affected with cholera, they are the ones that are showing what we call mild, symptoms. Only between 2% to 5% is the condition where you see it is lethal. Only that percentage. That is how we call that spectrum of disease. Now, how do cholera happen? How do people get to be affected by cholera? I will indicate to you that there's what we call water-related diseases. So that we begin from there. I will try to make sure that I am faster, because there's so much that we can talk about, but of course we don't have enough time. But we have what we call water-related diseases. I want to link water issue and the issues of cholera, so that we begin to understand environmental factor and other many issues, so that we begin to understand holistically. There is what we call water-related diseases that are, we have about 4 types of these water-associated diseases. We have what we call water-borne diseases.
Exactly.
That is where cholera is categorized. We have what we call water-washed diseases. This is where now personal hygiene is a problem, because we don't have enough water for us to have personal hygiene. But waterborne diseases is where the water that you are consuming, you are drinking, is contaminated by excreta from animals or humans. Then we have what we call water-based diseases. These are diseases that are associated because the causative agent, they spend part of their lives in water. Now we are talking about issues to do with the schistosomia, commonly known bilharzia. And we have drunkarduriasis, or another way to say Guinea well. These are things that are related with water. Then we have water-related, where we find issues of malaria aspect. These are 4 main issues there. But of course, water on its own is not a big issue that can we say we can have good water supply and everything else, but certain factor, the way cholera behaves, these are things that we need to understand. The cholera microorganism, the way it behaves, it enjoys the environment where the water is salty. It is thrive there. But in an event where, of course, it can also survive and enjoy where the salinity is low. But when the temperature of the water is adjusted, it's warmer, and then there's some nutrients that enter into the waters, you see cholera begin to be activated there. Because in a normal scheme of things, cholera, you discover that in the natural normal waters, you find that in water, people can be getting water, abstract water. When you go and to conduct some lab issues, you discover that you find cholera is there, but it may not affect people. There is when it is triggered, that condition where cholera cannot cause a disease, we call it, conditionally viable environmental cells. At that point, it's alive, but it cannot cause diseases. But it only affects individuals when these parameters, which are conducive for its survival and its activation. These are 2. The temperature, when the temperature variation is warmer, and if at all there is what we call the nutrients that shed now coming into the water bodies. Now, there are two aspects that you need to understand also, what we call planktons. We have what we call phytoplanktons and zooplankton. These are, we can say, aquatic, food web is food for microorganisms that are found in water. Now, there's a closer link. When there's some nutrients that are coming into waters, they begin to flourish because they see photosynthesis and other. They use it, there's blossom there. So you find that is the time when cholera is activated. And also, cholera also affects in areas where there's a high level of flooding. It is having that link because the reason we are saying is these nutrients that you find everywhere, terrestrial nutrients that is shedded into the water body. When there's flooding, meaning there's surface water there, and you'll discover that there's a lot of nutrients that is in those waters. So they activate that cholera. And when you look at the way Zambia Lusaka is situated, when you go to western side of Lusaka, northern side of Lusaka, and part of the southern of Lusaka, these are low-lying areas. They are prone to flooding. So it's a bit difficult to make sure that when you concentrate on the aspect of water issue alone, there are a lot of factors, because at the end there, when you can provide water, of course, by the way, when you talk about water quality, it's very important because, again, you discover that most of these communities, you don't have enough. So we need to understand these microorganisms. We need to know how it works, so that even when we provide enough water, people must have the knowledge. That's why from the health sector, we are talking about proactive, preventive medicine, where you do what we call health promotion, health education, to sensitize the community so that we understand this. Cholera, by the way, is endemic. It's part of us, it's there. But there are certain conditions that makes it activated. This is
how do we deal with those conditions?
This is where now we are talking about. One of them is one. Do you have to upgrade those, unplanned settlement to a certain level where we are no longer, because you do know even the soil type of Lusaka is lime. Now, when you look at lime, we find that the water, when it is raining, it's very difficult for water to percolate down. So that's why Lusaka is easily flooded. And then we are avoiding issues of having what we call on-site sanitation, because that is one of the things that are there, because you understand that fecal matter is the one that contains all these things, and when you have these fecal matter and all, you will find that there's organic matters that is entering into that water. And once the condition is favorable, it becomes easy for you to have that. So what we are saying, the area, you remember the Nigeria, they had changed the city. Tanzania, they've changed the cities. But when you look at Lusaka, we are not going to get into the details of Lusaka. You may not know that actually Lusaka was not meant to accommodate this number. Between 1948, when the ordinance was passed and towards the independence, that is the time, because this area was harbored, it was accommodating these British individuals who were farmers, and they were looking for farmers. And for your information, why there is more of Nyanja here and why there is more of Bemba, there is nothing to write home about, but it's surrounded, it's related with this, what I'm trying to indicate. But we may not go into details because there is a history. But we ended up using this city and we make it big, and we are in these areas where these areas are inhabitable. They are not meant to accommodate the human individuals because of the nature they are.
I understand that in the past we also saw that institutions like the Water Resources Management Authority and other environmental experts did come to warn us even before, even during or after the Kaunda regime. They did warn us that actually the aspect of peat latrines is a danger to public health, because about 75% of the country is on peat latrine.
Exactly.
And not every household is serviced by Lusaka Water, getting water from Kafue. We understand that Lusaka Water itself also gets part of its water from underground.
Yes.
And we also see that most of every communities that are coming up, they are on boreholes. And there's a high likelihood of a calamity there. But what is the relationship between, especially the aspect of the peat latrines that are in a multitude in this city and the current cholera pandemic?
Yeah, the issue is that we are talking about the aspect of poor sanitation, because that is one of the fundamentals which actually activate. Now, these petrolatin, as we are saying, that the environment, the nature of the soil type, as I said, is lime, which cannot allow all this. So any slight rainfall that you have, these fecal matter, and we end up having these, they will float up. But then also we are talking about these are environmental factors. We may not have issues to do with all those, but the problem is the type of the environment that we are. That's the biggest problem, number one. Now, when it comes to issues of water, of course, we can give you, maybe we run through a little bit of understanding how water also plays a very important role. I just gave you the aspect of where cholera is found and how important it is. There's an aspect where we are saying, in a community, there's what we call no access to safe water. There's basic access to safe water, there's intermittent access to safe water, and there's optimal access to safe water. This is where now the Lusaka Swarage Company and all this, they should be able to begin to understand when you talk about there's no access to safe drinking water. If the distance you take for you to get water is more than 30 minutes round trip, we are going to categorize that area as no access to clean water. That is the first point we have to understand. And we are expecting what we call individuals. We are saying individuals household level. We are going to have 5 liters per capita per day. Meaning, imagine an individual, when there is no access to water, you are going to have only 5 liters. Then when it comes to aspect of basic access, you take about within 30 minutes round trip, you should have that water that is safe for you to have access. And we expect that liters per capita per day is about 20 liters. Then when you come to issues of intermittent, you are talking about the aspect of where you have a tap within the yard, and you were expecting to have at least 50 liters of water per day. Then when it comes to aspect of optimal, which we want to have, this is where between 100 to 200 liters per individual, because we just opened the tap there. So now we are saying, looking at when you don't have enough, this is where the high level of public risk for you to have poor personal hygiene is high, as you move in that direction, of course. These are issues. Now, looking at the source of water, you talked about the source of water, we are talking about underground. There are two basically, there are about 3 sources of water that we have. We have the surface water, we have the groundwater, and we have the rainfall. Now, of course, we use combination, and each of them has its own advantage and disadvantages. For example, we talk about surface water. Surface water is the water where it is prone to contamination, especially biological aspect of it. Because when we talk about water, we are talking about water quality parameters. These are 3 fundamentals that when we are treating water that we have to deal with. There's a physical aspect, biological aspect, and chemical aspect. These are 3. Now, when you look at biological, it is more of the surface water because it's prone. These are what we call unprotected water sources. Then we have the underground. The underground, this is where you discover that there is not much of biological, because when water is percolating there, it is being managed properly. But we have problems to do with what you call chemicals there, because there is so much there when you look at the combination. So when we are treating, we are balancing, because when you talk about groundwater, water get to be contaminated up here in terms of biological, because the cholera is biological. Okay. Then when it comes to aspect of the mixed aspect, and how do you abstract the water from the ground? We are talking about one way you can access groundwater is about a spring. Water can come out. Number 2, you are going to have wells. That well, whatever form, and these boreholes. That is the way we abstract the water. Now, there's a process. When you come to issues of hygiene, personal hygiene, this is where I'm giving you a bit of adumberation so that we begin, because these are very vast concepts that we need to talk about. But I just want to run you through a little bit so that you understand even the treatment of water. Why there's water, Lusaka Swarage, there where you combine groundwater there, as well as the aspect of Lusaka water. Now, when it comes to the surface water, that is where the danger is, because it is unprotected area. And when you look at the aspect, there is need for you to treat that water if you want to cover the masses. There's what we call conventional treatment. Now, when you look at conventional treatment, I'll just indicate that there are certain steps that you must follow in order for you to be able to give these people safe water. And by the way, if they do the good job there, the treatment process is safe. Actually, it's best, even better than even bottled water, because people tend to be thinking that when you are drinking bottled water, you are safe. There are aspects that we need to understand, but in terms of the treatment process, you look at the way it works. There's what we call, you have identified a source, which is surface water, and it must be adequate to make sure that all seasons, that water must be adequate. And the treatment itself should not take a lot, because you find that the treatment is segmented into, there's the aspect of physical component, and the deal more with it. We are interested to use the physical and less of biological, because we know that again, when you use more of chemical, there are some ramifications. That's why. So let me just run through the process that the Lusaka water and storage they go through for you to have that water that you drink, so that you understand that it's important that we have enough water of that nature as well. So you have what we call the surface water, where you get the water, and we are going to have what we call intake, water intake there within the structure of the liver, where you're getting the surface water. Now this water has to be transported to the treatment plant. We have the conduit, and by the way, advantage, you need to make sure that probably you can even use the gravitational force for you to take that water outside. You can pump or anything. When you have there's what we call preliminary treatment. That is the first stage of treating water. There's the first part where you have to screen the water, where you have to remove these leaves.
So us explaining the treatment point, maybe we may lose track of our viewers, but however, the take home is that you mean that the water quality, like the one that Lusaka water produces, is something that is needed probably in every household.
Yes, it is needed, but of course we can combine, because we have both. But that water, the reason why it undergoes that way, because it is more susceptible to contamination than actual groundwater.
Interesting. Now, we are where we are now.
Yes.
The question is that who is to blame for this mess that we are in?
What I can tell you here, and the Zambian people, is that Zambians are what we call, there's an aspect of lackadaisical. We are perfunctory when it comes to matters of this. Now what has happened is that all will come out in the wash, and this is what is happening. We are blaming the entire management system, leadership, governance, and the management. Everybody is responsible for this, because you know Zambia is structured. It's hierarchical. We have the leadership and all these levels, because we need to manage, ensuring that when you go to public, you are managing the public affairs. What is important is that whatever service you are providing, it is for the Zambian people, and the service you provide is requited. You are paid for that. So now we expect you to deliver. But when you are not delivering, but in this case, we are not supposed to be hit by like this. Now what is telling you, what you are getting from here is that even the curative individuals, when you look at the Ministry of Health, they are failing to understand that there's a very important player that need to be able to do this. And when you see the minister is moving, and look at the people that are surrounding her, they are the same people that are from the curative section, but they are failing to handle these issues. You understand that? The point is, everywhere they say the prevention is better than cure. Of course, we need to ensure that we have a balance, but we are failing to see it. Remember that I had challenged the recruitment process just 2 weeks ago. But they did not listen to me, because I had message within there. Now what is going on? It is telling me that actually I am right and I have the answers to our problem, but we want people to listen, because I know what the combination of what should be within the Ministry of Health. There's what we call matrices, there's syntaxes, there's a way you mix it. Now there's an aspect of leadership, management, and governance. These are three components which are what you call intertwined. You are interpreting that we have lost it in terms of the way the recruitment was done. Yeah, because of course for me, from my standing point, I'm telling you, because what it is, I was trying to help the UPND to understand that some people in these strategic positions, they are manipulating and they are not doing anything. And this is the ramification, because no one who would want to lose life. Because what has happened, as I indicated, cholera is preventable and curable. Yes. But what is going on is some individuals failing to provide the solution, but they are positioned in this strategic position. Now, when we tell you to say, we have declined, we have noticed that there are certain things that need to be adjusted. Because before, I'll tell you that we don't just challenge anyhow. Because when you look at me, I'm not very old. I expect there are people who have gone ahead of me, that we call palimpsests, the trove of wisdom, those people that should have me under their vanguard wing. Now, sometimes when you see abnormal being turned into normal, you begin to observe. You don't just rush and begin to criticize. You begin to study, looking at, why are these people that are well strategically in this position? They're supposed to guide me and these young ones.
What abnormalities have you observed that need urgent attention?
What I'm trying to indicate, the combination, we are talking about the mix in the health sector. There's what we call, when you look at the health sector, the way it is, we have what we call the health system. Now, a health system happens to have building blocks. Issue number one that you need to understand is this issue of management, leadership, and governance. And just to be brief here, I want to indicate that leadership is all about vision and direction. It's very important. You need to know where are you going. That is the aspect of leadership. We need to be having a vision and we know this is where we're going. Then when it comes to lead the management section, this is how to get things done. It's about efficiency and effectiveness. You can be doing and you can be wasting. Imagine I'm coming from home. I have a program here. We already arranged that I need to come here. So this is I had a vision and direction that I need to go to KBN. There's this issue that we need to do. Then
you needed to come to
the management part is what made me to come here to get things done. You know where you are going. Now the management is about issues of getting things done, and we are interested in what we call efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency is to do things right, and the effectiveness is to get things done. There are two things that are very important there under the management section. Then when it comes to governance, it's the issues to do with the rules of the game. This is value and accountability.
In the fight against cholera, which departments do you think are key and they did not do their homework?
Of course, I will indicate that the Ministry of Health, of course, because we know that this is what you call multi-sectoral discipline. It is not only the Ministry of Health. For your information, I want to indicate it clearly so that you understand what I'm saying. What we are saying, the approach to all these problems is multi-sectoral. That's why Ministry of Health happens to have two ways of dealing with the issue. There is proactive section and the reactive. But we need to ensure that, because you need to guide everybody else. You are a leading agent. We're looking at the Ministry of Water. It's very important because to provide that sanitation and all these water issues is very key as well. When it comes to issues of Ministry of Local Government and these other ministries, they are very key because there are so many things that go. So we are understanding, and also the general public at large, they need to know, because the Ministry of Health, the local government and all these, they are meant to serve the interests of the Zambian people. And what you do must be able to resonate with the people.
I'm surprised because, you mentioned the aspect of health promotion. I'm talking about cholera. If we understand that the rainy season is prone to cholera, don't you think Camnet TV should be having an advert from the ministry talking about cholera?
This is what I'm saying. We need to ensure that, because again, when it comes to the way you respond, I have not talked about issues. This is the epidemic. Of course, there's an aspect of outbreak, epidemic, pandemic, and all this terminology. But of course, we understand that it's just the same, but they change. What differs is the magnitude and the duration. So now we are into pandemic here. Now there's what we call epidemic. We are into whatever we were talking about epidemic. It's epidemic. There's what we call epidemic preparedness and the response. You see what is happening. This is not the first time that we have cholera. It has been happening. Now, when you talk about issues of epidemic preparedness and response, it is an indication to tell you that you have this problem that you have not dealt with. Because the way you control this problem, one, you can eliminate it from the source. If you fail, you know that this causative agent or this public health threat is with us. This is where you institute now the aspect of preparedness and response. Why? You know that any given moment it will be able to strike. Now there's an aspect there. There's a plan the way you are going to do it. One, you're going to have what we call epidemic preparedness committee. This is where it's important. That's where if I run you through, you'll be able to understand that there's no organization. And what I'm saying is true. When you have epidemic preparedness and the response, you're going to have that committee. And what the committee will do, they are going to have what we call priorities. Now, priorities is one of the things that, for example, cholera is something that you know. We have these fundamental problems because we can't solve all the problem at once. It is in dribs and drabs. But you prioritize those that you know are very important. This is where now it's about people that are well organized. Now, when you have the priority, you're going to have a plan. Now, in that plan, what you're going to find, is about what you call the preventive and control measures. We are going to have what we call epidemic preparedness. I mean, surveillance. Because you need to ensure that you are being informed. We are going to look at issues of mobilization of resources, because you must have an emergency funds, and you are going to have an aspect where you assign responsibilities within the committee, those people, because it's at national level, provincial, and there are different stakeholders that are there. So there are times when you look at those aspects. So when you know, the reason why we have the Epidemic Preparedness Committee is simply because we want to not to lose life. We want to ensure that we don't have an aspect where we want to reduce the morbidity and the mortality rate. And we want to make sure that probably there's no one who loses life. Because imagine when you are prepared, was what we expect, and the objective of epidemic preparedness aspect is about, one, there's an aspect of prognosticating. You must be able to foretell. You must be able to see a danger ahead of time. The second aspect, this is where now you want to prevent, then you want to have early detection. You understand? Then from there, you have what we call a rapid response. And the response must be effective. So when people are prepared, we know these problems have been happening. We are not supposed to have this challenge that we have going through if people were well organized, as I've told you. Because there's an aspect actually, yes, maybe I can go ahead, maybe you want.
Because you are mentioning an important and interesting aspect. But my follow-up question also would be, is Zambia ready for the next pandemic?
But this is a litmus paper. This is what I'll tell you, that we are not ready for anything. And when we sit down in these offices behind the scenes, what we are doing is personal interest. We are not there to serve. This, what has happened, is to show you, is an evidence. There's an aspect that you need to know. In this world, there are two fundamentals that you must be able to appreciate. And that, if you understand, you'll be able to know who is lying to you and who is telling the truth. Number one is the universal truth. Number two is what you call order of nature. These are two fundamentals. Now, the conventional wisdom, the knowledge that you acquire using your education, these two, the universal truth and the governing laws of nature, they are the true touchstone upon which you measure the accuracy of your knowledge that you acquired and the achievement to that from that knowledge. Now, and these, your knowledge, are subordinate to those. And these two, we call them, they are dispassionate. They are highly impassive. You cannot manipulate. And what is happening? The nature is telling you a lesson that you have not gotten exactly the way I want. And it will teach you a lesson. And this is what we are going through. You see, people that are not prepared.
So why did you suggest that probably people may be serving personal interest and not the welfare of the well-being of the country?
Please, it's just it's no-brainer. We don't need to lose life when we have means to do that. But a community that is interested in reacting all the time, when there's a problem, that's when you begin to panic. You know that you lose a lot of resources by doing that. And this is what is going on. You see, why don't we have a prescience? This is why I'm telling you, by hindsight, by foresight, and these are aspects that you must know. When you suffer a problem previously, it must give you a trigger to understand that how best do I have to deal with this situation. And you are going to have insight. And some people, when they are promoted in this strategic position, I was thinking that they are promoted because of their prescience. They have accuracy. They can even probably sangoma. They can prognosticate because of experience. You understand this weather that you are discovering when people are telling you to want to rain properly. There's no magic around there, but these are seasonal, these are periodical, these are incremental. You are able to know at when it was going to come. But it's a question of how are you understanding the nature. Imagine the rainy season has come, it will go. We are going to get into another season. But it will come back because these are cyclical. But you need to understand these issues for you to be able to be predicting issues. So this is what I'm telling you, my brother, that you don't need to go anywhere. The problem that we are facing today, they were faced by other people elsewhere. Do you know, I think maybe if you understand the link between this one and disaster, there's what you call DMMU now.
Exactly.
You understand? Now, when you look at DMMU, are you telling me that they are doing their job properly? They are not, because when you are talking about disaster management and mitigation unit, you understand? They needed to understand exactly. I may not dwell into disaster, but I have understanding of disaster in details. And this is why the people that are positioned everywhere, I can tell you that we are not going to get things. If you get things right, it is just a flash in the pan. It's by serendipity. Now we are into this what you call zemblanity, because the nature has reacted in a certain form. And I'm telling you that these people who are health professionals, they have not come before the television to give detailed explanation exactly how you are going to resolve these problems. Because imagine, when people are suffering from there, you want to react that you care. But why don't you become proactive? Because when somebody begins to die, that's when you begin to react. Now, I'm appealing even to the president, the Republican president. He means well, but he must be able to understand that the people that are entrusted with this responsibility, he must be able to understand whether they are getting things right or not. Because at the end of the day, it will be a problem because the buck stops at him. We are here to help him so that he delivers, and he delivers through people. We know we are so many as Zambia, limited positions that are there. But why do we have to have lumpen proletariat positioned in those strategic positions? And we see them failing. Because this problem that we are going through, my brother, this is Zambia, it's not the only country, you know that. We have many countries. That's why I told you, John Snow, who is from the British, they dealt with cholera in 1854. Now today, let me indicate to you another thing that is going on. There's an aspect of a vaccine that has been introduced. People are saying we must be able to introduce the people over the same aspect of cholera. But there's one thing that I would want to understand. You leaders, there's what we call being astute, being perspicacious, the aspect of being shrewd. It's very important. I believe people understand the language. The issue is this. Why you have a problem here, the person who is producing those drugs, most of them may not have these problems. You understand? But sometimes there are situations where other people want a market where they can sell their products. Because I can assure you that cholera can be dealt with, and it's a disease that can easily be dealt with. You don't need, because these vaccine, again, for your information, we have pharmacists and the medical personnel from the creative. I want to tell you one thing. We do not produce any drug here, but we have this problem. We want to consume from other people who went to school. They got education, and they are able to convert their education into reality, and you buy those drugs. But why are you not, you yourself, using your education that you acquired, be able to provide answers to your own problems? Now, one thing that I want to indicate is this. These drugs, that when they come, do you trust those people that they will tell you that this drug is safe when they cannot produce it? Are you going to trust somebody that when somebody else is producing a drug elsewhere and you want to give it to be administered to your own people, how do you tell that, of course, the efficacy and the other things that you are talking about, how safe is it? Because we know that there's so much counterfeit things everywhere, including drugs. I can tell you now here that we have a lot of counterfeits, but we do not have people that can protect the interest of the Zambian people, the average people. This is where there's no fairness in the exchange of goods and services. Because if I choose to be a healthy professional, I must work hard to make sure that what I bring on the table is the best. Because even you as a journalist, we have picked this section. But where we meet, because we cannot manage to sustain our needs on our own, we specialize and we work as a team. You get this and produce enough so that we share. But these are concepts that I'm telling you that we are failing to use what we call rough and ready solution. There are basic solutions that God has showed us by understanding these.
We had the vaccine during the 2018 cholera pandemic outbreak.
Yeah, this is where I'm indicating to you that.
But the same prone areas are the same that are.
And this is why I'm telling you to say, do you know what that drug does to the individuals that are consuming it? This is where we are saying, sometimes let us not provoke certain things that we do not understand. What I'm indicating to you is Zambia has problems, but we expected, because we have universities around, you know that. But what are they doing? Do you want to depend on somebody where you don't know what they do behind the scenes to produce that? Do you know their intention? I'm not saying there is bad intention, but you know that in this world it's about dog eat dog world. It's about cutthroat aspect, because everybody wants to dominate and everybody wants to benefit. Because I can tell you that Zambia is a friend to many countries, including UK and America. But look at America in terms of, economically, they are enjoying themselves, they are good. Now, if you have a friend, that you call yourself a friend, why can't they tell you exactly how they get there, where they are doing very fine? So you can see that there are issues of being sagacious, being astute. Who is smarter than who? Now, before you introduce something that you don't understand, it's better you find means. There is what we call rough and ready solution. I told you that this cholera is a disease of dirty and poverty. It's an indicator. But the manner in which we can manage cholera can be controlled. That's why I'm telling you that in certain places you'll find that this cholera microorganism is there. People can even be drinking that water without having problems. Why? It's because it is in a condition we called conditionally viable environmental cell. It is active but non-culturable. That is the meaning. So we are saying there are certain conditions that triggers it. But you never hear people explaining those things to you and to everybody else. Because we need to get into detail so that people understand exactly. Because if you are just waffling, you never get anything, because we need specifics.
What development opportunities are we missing out as a result of focusing on cholera?
Because imagine right now what is going on. You are being losing a lot. You have the Ministry of Tourism, for example. You have trade issues. Now you can see that you are going to be discriminated in terms of even the trade and aspect where you have the full-fledged ministry where you want people to come here because you are doing this tourism. Now this is why I'm saying sometimes listening to people, because we are what we call purveyor of universal truth. Listen to when people tell you. Imagine UPND, they are promulgating what we call free education. Now, if you are promulgating free education, what is your methodology? What is your method? What is your aspect of the design? Of course, we are saying, what is your philosophical reason why you are promulgating that? I can answer to them that the best way why you want people to be educated is because they need to be well informed. And when you are well informed, you respect the citizens when they come to say, I have an answer to my our problem. You need to respect, because that is an indicator to show that when you say you want people to have free education, you want these people to be enlightened. But there are times when some of us, we are bringing a solution to the problem that we have, but they'll give you a cold shoulder. Then you wonder to say, why are you contradicting yourself? Are you telling us the truth that this free education that you are giving us, is it true? Because if we have answers, because for your information, I was educated by this country. Government of this, the Zambia sponsored me on my BSc. I got 100% scholarship, and this is why I owe this country. That's why we are here to provide and to pay back. And when we say we have this solution, please listen, because that is one way to prove to me that when you say you are offering free education, you respect the purveyor of the universal truth. But if you ignore me or ignore those people who've got answers, then what is the agenda? What is your interest? So this is why we are saying, this problem, my brother, will cost us big time. One, we are losing lives, which probably we are not supposed to be losing them. Because I said cholera is preventable and curable. But other people are manipulating other groups so that we kill the preventive section. But the curative, when you look at them again, they are not well positioned, because you see the substandard service that we are providing people. Now, the cheapest way and the easiest way is prevention. Even when you ask developed countries, that's the route they used. But why are you being misled by somebody else? Maybe there's someone who is manipulating what we're supposed, who is telling us to do wrong things. Because what we are saying, we are losing, the tourism ministry is losing, because there's no one who is willing to come here. You understand? But if they had, by hindsight, they controlled this problem. Because we know that we have cholera. It's endemic and it graduated to epidemic. This is what is going on. Now, when you have these hazards, you need to be proactive. You begin to see, because when you do what you call epidemic investigation, the intention of investigating this outbreak, number one, you want to understand the source of this problem. Because what if it's continuous? Because you need to understand where is it coming from, so that we seal this, we make sure that we control and we stop the additional cases going on. The second aspect you are looking at, you come up with recommendations, the way forward to say, how best do we have to resolve this issue? Because we have this problem. And the third aspect, you are going to, if it's a new disease, you are going to have an opportunity to describe it. If it's the old disease like cholera, what will happen is that you are going to understand and improve on the control measures that you had. Then the other aspect, you have to address the public out there. Because public, they have to know. It's part of the investigation. While you're investigating one, you want to identify people that are exposed to this unusual condition of a disease. So that at the end of the day, when you identify, you evaluate them. Now, when you look at the procedure that is there, there's what you call, there are 7 steps when you're doing investigation. Number 1, you must be able to verify that there's really an outbreak. Number 2, you have to be able to ensure that you prepare for investigation. The third aspect, you construct what we call a suspected case definition. Because it's very important, those aspects that I'm indicating. Then what you need to go another step is you have to collect the lab specimen.
Let me just pick one caller so that really, because I was reluctant. Hello, you are through to the People's Verdict. Good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
Fine, how are you, sir?
I'm alright.
Thank you. Your name and where you're calling us from?
This is Mwalusaka.
Come again?
Mwalusaka.
Mwalusaka.
Yes.
You can go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, I think we Zambians, let's not try to hijack everything, whatever comes, and we help the government to do the right thing at the right time. If we do that, then we can achieve it. Other people, they start coming up with other things to have to protect their own interests. Then we are messing up everything. The government is working flat out to make sure that they can lead on this cholera issue. But there are people who think that they can, and what the government can do. Please stop that. Can you stop that? People can do this for people who knows what, and they are saying flat out, you don't act and you see what's happening. You say that, you tell them, they look at, you know, it's cool.
The line is pretty faint, but thank you very much, Mr. Mwalusaka, for your contribution. We do value your comment. And we're just saying the government has gone flat out and they're doing the right thing.
It's true, actually, we appreciate that the government is doing it. But you know that as a government, you must have people that you know. There's what we call getting things right. The management section of it is to be effective and efficient. There are times when you can be wasting resources and you're not getting anywhere. This is why people, when they go to school or whatever you specialize, you are saying, I am going to procure answers in this specific area. And can we see people beginning? Because of course you can see president moving everywhere or a minister moving everywhere, but they don't have what it takes to handle that problem. It requires the technocrats to do the job, because you can be all over talking about the same issue, but it will never solve the problem. Me, that is what I'm telling you. We are not fighting, we are not blaming, but this is the reality that we are faced. And we are not supposed, and the government, those people who are in strategic positions, they should learn how to roll with punches. Because I'm not going to pull my punches. Because what we are saying is a collective good. Everybody else is affected. Everybody else is prone to this problem. So we need to be able to nail the light to the counter. Let people understand that this problem has a solution. And Zambia is not the only country in this earth. That is one fact that people must know. So having this problem, because you are busy manipulating and pretending that you are doing something when you are not doing anything. So that's what we are saying. You have killed the preventive medicine, and that's a reality which we wanted to address. Because we know the value of prevention. And we know that it can make this country great. But we deliberately, you want to be proactive. And you'll be having difficulties. You see, when people are brought dead from homes, that signals, it tells you that people do not understand what to do. Because there's no one who would want to die. If somebody, I remember somebody was mentioning that some people are using kachas, whatever. That is the element of ignorance. We are promulgating what we call obscurantism. People won't know. But a society that is well organized, we need to protect each other. And that's what I'm saying. When you are proactive, there's what we call health education.
Should people use kachas?
No, but that is not the case here. We are not supposed to do that. It's like ignorance, because I heard somebody pass a comment. But that's
because we do see them, especially in various communities.
But that is ignorance.
Saying that kachasu, when it gets into your chest, just the way it is hot, and that's how it is killing the...
No, but this is where you are offering. That is a figmentation of somebody's imagination. That is a figment of their imagination, because it doesn't work like that. It's science-based, my brother.
It's killing the bacteria. That's what people suggest.
But look at what
are you able to guide people on that as well?
No. Let us avoid certain alternative shortcuts. The order in which you can prevent cholera is not something that we have to reinvent. It's already there. But it's a question of how the institution like Ministry of Health and these other key players, how do you get to ensure that the people are benefiting from the services that you provide? Because if the Ministry of Health is standalone, it's not integrated with the community, then who happen to be the consumer of what you are producing? These are ramifications. Me, I'm telling you, it's lack of coordination between the people that are providing answers and those people that are consuming the answers.
Lastly, as we wind up our discussion, I want you to just tackle this question. What sort of perspective or mindset do we need as we work towards combating cholera once and for all, putting in place sustainable interventions?
Number one, as we indicated, that cholera is preventable and curable. So the issue is we need selected few individuals out there that we can pick, that can hold those special positions and to provide the answer. We need people to be held accountable. As you are getting your salary every month because you are working, don't be the number one to cause effect, because sometimes certain decisions that we make today, you may not realize that actually they have ripple effect. This now, that's what we call butterfly effect. You find that you made a decision some years back, which is now costing the country, because if you had done the right thing, and if you are well focused and you knew why you are there, we can keep this problem at bay. For me, it's just a request that I'm making, that can we get serious? I've always indicated that. Can we restructure? Restructuring doesn't mean that you are discriminating some people. What you want is to find the best brains, the best solution to our problem. There's no way you can be positioning people you know, rampant proletariat, people who are blank, because they just warm their chairs. You imagine the office is big, but somebody is very myopic, it's small. But how? Because you cannot polish a tape. The best way is that when the shit hits the fan, the way it is now, everybody's complaining and everybody will say, no, what is... But the issue is that the answers are there. But the people with these institutions that are well positioned, they are wrongly given to people that have nothing to do. Because even when you talk about these committees that I mentioned, for you to respond, I can assure you that if there were coordination, because you meet before, during and after, these are issues where you begin to look at the measures that you had put before. How did they fare? Because you need to have improved surveillance. You need to have research around there. Because what we want is to give us the best. Because what we are doing is waffling. It's like what is going on as if you don't have healthy professionals that we are trained. It's like it's just free for all. Everybody just waffling the way. That is what is going on. Me, I'll tell you, that is what is going on.
Thank you, Mr. Rikezo, for making a presence here on the People's Verdict. We value your contribution to national issues.
Maybe I can just indicate, because sometimes there is this issue of misunderstanding, you know.
As an advocate for...
this is an advocate for positive change. This is where sometimes you have to be, drastic and a bit of, What we are saying is that we are activists. And sometimes when we are saying these things, because we know, we are shocked when we know that there is a way we can do things right, but people deliberately are failing. And when we are trying to indicate that can we do things right, we are here to serve the interest of the people. And for your information, I would want the Republican president to actually succeed. He means well, and for your information, actually, I don't believe much in the opposition. I don't see any opposition who has the potential to provide the solution. You may want to change the government here and there, but I have assessed all of them. The simple issue is that sometimes people just want to get into power. There are certain things that I've done deliberately to see whether, because there's what we call adversity makes strange bedfellows. There are times when you indicate certain things, people must be able to have interest to see to it that can we look into this. The aspect that I did when I challenged the recruitment process, I am still challenging, and I even challenged the media houses that can you make fallout? Because we provided some valid points, they are strong valid points. And we wanted some people to be held accountable, to be probably, taken to where they can be, looked into properly, because we want to take them to court. Because there are a lot of things that have gone on wrong, and we have the leg to stand. We cannot just bring out things that we are not quite sure. We are confident that we brought it through this normal channel. But people are ignoring. People are ignoring. And that's why I even challenged the media houses, please, can you begin to bring these your leaders into account? These are challenges that we've put there. I've thrown the gauntlet. They should pick up the gauntlet. Let us begin to find solution. We are here, some of us, we are not going to be ignoring certain things that are wrong, but we are not fighting anyone, and I can assure that I do not believe in the opposition. The current crop of this opposition, there is no one who has the accoutrement to be able to lead this country. For information, I know what I'm talking about, but the president here, he has the accoutrement from where I'm standing. But the issue is that let him be able to understand that the people, he's the brain. There are issues of legs, hands. He must be able to know that the hands, you need to know what the rest of the body is doing. So what we are saying, let him be able to know those people that are mandated to do the job. Because otherwise they will mess him up. They say, if you lie down with dogs, you get up with fleas. Because people begin to say, maybe you're entertaining that. But we know that let him be enlightened. The reason why I've come here is to make sure that probably he's listening to me. We believe in him, but begin not to be, don't be manipulated by other people. Solutions, especially Ministry of Health. Ministry of Health is being mismanaged. We have answers to provide a solution to all these problems. Can we just sit down and begin to look into these issues in details?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mukelebai Likezo. He is the agent for positive change, and we were talking about the cholera issue that has affected the country, and we were looking at some of the obstacles that it provides to national development, and our guest has been able to delve into that. But in case you're just joining us, this is where we have to say goodbye because we started at 17. But however, the good news is that you are able to listen to this broadcast on our Facebook page as well as a YouTube channel, and you will be able to catch up with whatever has been discussed here. This has been Patrick Soko. Until we meet again, keep it on Camnet TV, not just another channel.